Well, we knew that PewDiePie was sort of switching to Linux because we've seen like Instagram stories and such, but well, he did a whole video about that. And that was interesting. So in the spirit of again doing something very light-hearted and not scripted, let's just watch it and I'll just cut to the parts where I have something to say.
What if I told you you can look like this?
Yeah, that's all Linux users, by the way. All of them. Myself included, obviously.
Anyway, let me start this off by saying I am not a tech guy. You saw my PC building video.
By the way, I'm not that much of a tech guy either. Like, sure, I do software development as my job, but also if I try to build a computer, I would do worse.
Some people seem surprised and confused.
Something possessed him to put Linux on it.
Some people were excited.
Yes, but also it chose Mint, which is something that I truly do not understand, but I'm sure that is gonna give some context about that in the video. Also, last time I did the reaction, it was also about Linux Mint, and I made fun of it, and I was sort of joking, but people got mad, so respect to Linux Mint.
Okay, so I'm gonna yap about Linux for as long as this video is.
By the way, is this how PewDiePie videos usually are? I don't really watch the channel, and I'm deeply troubled by what's happening here.
And you're gonna listen. You want Candy Crush on your computer? You wanna use...
This, by the way, did work to me when I was a child because, yeah, I started playing the video games that Windows was suggesting me. But when I was like 14, I felt like I sort of had outgrown that. And yeah, I was also frustrated at that. The advertisement in the start menu, in the Explorer, in the login menu.
Linux, on the other hand, literally puts a gun in your hand and says,
well, sort of. I feel like we were trying to move away from that. Like, well, of course, I use KD Plasma, and the idea there is, yeah, we sort of do put a gun in your hand, but also we're trying to move towards a simple by default approach where, yeah, you can just be comfortable, and if you're not really tech savvy, you can just, yeah. But I do see the point here.
my first sort of aha moment when I installed Linux.
I just really don't want this to become like what Linux is, like this idea of, yeah, you can try Linux, but you're gonna be out for yourself, and it's gonna be your responsibility to keep the system working or something. No, Linux should still be like looking out for its users, of course, depending of the distro. Like, of course, I'm biased towards KD Plasma here.
Linux, or started using it, was, wait a minute, it does exactly what I wanted to do. And there's just a really powerful feeling about that. I do want to show you guys my setup as well. I will get into that. But first, reason number 2. As an epic minimalist, the bloat. The bloat is real. It always bothered me. Anytime I install a new Windows, I spent like an hour trying to uninstall all the pre-packaged BS that I
I fully agree with this, and having the ability to just install stuff like, I don't know, Arch Linux, where you start from scratch and you just decide what to put, it's just such a pleasure. I do use Arch. I had to say that, didn't I?
I don't want. Windows is like, I know you paid $100 or whatever for me, but I'm still gonna put ads in here. Yes, put a little AI in here. You want that?
Yeah, I just don't. I cannot excuse the level of advertisement that Windows has. Again, login screen, why don't you get OneDrive? Start menu, use Candy Crush. Explorer, again, why don't you get OneDrive? And then you open Compile, actually, you try to install a Chrome, and it tells you, why don't you switch to Edge instead? The operating system does that. And yeah, it's a mess.
That right? That doesn't benefit me. It's for you, the consumer. Bing! It doesn't benefit me that you use Bing, but please use Bing.
We do sort of have something that could be considered advertisement, it's a bit of a stretch, but like on a newly install of KD Plasma, you get a notification saying, hey, why don't you install the KD Plasma integration with the Firefox? You could see that an ad, but of course we don't gain anything out of you installing KDE Plasma browser integration, and we're just telling you because it's gonna help you to, use Firefox in a way that's integrated with the desktop environment. We're not trying to advertise anything ourselves. We also do have a one-time notification that asks for donation once every year, and you can turn it off permanently. So that's the most that we do. Come on, Windows.
Microsoft is an annoying Swede, apparently. With Linux, nothing. Serenity. Peace. Don't even get me started on the Windows taskbar. You control what's on your computer. Duh, it's obvious. How is this not a thing? Reason number 3, customization. I discovered...
Yes. Again, KDE Plasma biased, but KDE Plasma is like the most customizable, I feel like, of desktop environments. And I actually switched to Linux first with Canonical's Unity, and then I switched to GNOME, and then I was switched to KDE Plasma. I was like, wow, this is so customizable. That's it. I'm gonna stick to this. And before that, before switching to Linux, on Windows, I was customizing like a lot already. But, Linux is another whole level.
Discovered this afterwards. Customizing on Linux is a beautiful thing. On Windows, you can maybe change your wallpaper, change a little bit of colors, whoopity-doo. On Linux,
you cannot even change the position of the taskbar anymore? Or I think you couldn't when Windows 11 first came out, which is absurd to me.
You can change reality itself. Since Linux is built modular, you can swap out your GUI entirely. You don't even have to use one. You can cut off the head of Linux and it'll still be like, hey, I'm here, what's up? Customizing on Linux is called rising, and I got way too into it. I cooked hard. I can't wait to show you guys. Now, reason number 4.
Yeah, I do feel like people switching to Linux immediately get cursed by this whole rising aspect, and then over time they're like, yeah, but also I've got work to do.
Or gaming. Gaming on Linux is finally real.
By the way, this is such an important point. Just a few years back, gaming on Linux was one of the reasons people didn't switch to Linux. But thanks to the amazing work, I think, personally, done by wine developers, Valve, and others, now it's a strength point. It's incredible how things turned around.
I actually installed Linux 15 years ago. That's right, I'm old. And I uninstalled it after like a couple days, as a lot of people do, when they realize, oh, I can't use the things I need on Linux. And for me,
understandably,
that was gaming back then, because it's like, well, then what's the point? But now, gaming on Linux is real, at last. So Valve came in like Gandalf in Helm's Deep, riding a Steam Deck with Proton. So I think...
Yeah, the Steam Deck was quite revolutionary in the Linux world. That has been amazing. And even for me personally, I should probably disclose that. Let me adjust the camera. I currently am sponsored to work on KDE Plasma through a company called Tech Paladin that has a contract with Valve thanks to the Steam Deck, I think. So it was a big deal because not even gaming, it wasn't just gaming. It was the whole like Linux ecosystem benefited as a whole. Because of course, if Valve is gonna ship KDE Plasma on the Steam Deck, then, well, obviously they want KDE Plasma to be sort of polished, and then they're gonna spend resources to make sure it's polished, and that's gonna benefit the whole Linux world. But yeah, the gaming point obviously is the most important result of this effort.
So I think this is a perfect example how Linux
I do own a couple of Steam Decks.
benefits everyone. The fact that Valve as a company recognized maybe Microsoft has a bit too much power. If they wanted to and started being shady, locking things down, taking cuts, they absolutely could, and it's not...
I do absolutely have to tell you here that I made a 30 minutes long, I think, video about this whole Valve understanding that Microsoft was not a great option. I made a video about that. So if you want to really dive in, I've got one there.
It's not like it would be uncharacteristics for them to do. So Valve started improving gaming on Linux, boosted driver support, and they built on what was already there from open source software like Wine. By doing this, Valve benefits, consumer benefits, ecosystem grows, win, win, win. It really feels like an alternate reality. This totally could not have been a thing. And it also makes me realize just how many things can be better if people just weren't so greedy. Can we just fix them? So thank you, Linux, and thank you, Base Gaben. Now I've gone through the reasons why I switched to Linux. Let me just explain why maybe not switching is a good idea. Because everything good comes with a sacrifice. If you're swapping to Linux, you'll likely have to give something up. I don't know what it is, but for me, it was Photoshop. I used Photoshop, again, for 15 years. All the shortcuts, all my workflow, it's all baked into my brain. The way I use Photoshop, I don't think about it. It's just, here's the thumbnail. It's not beautiful, but I get the job done. Unfortunately, Adobe is a garbage company, and their software just won't run on Linux. A lot of...
I thought there were some like hacky ways to try to get it running, but it would be better to, consider free and open source alternatives, which, by the way, I think is why it's important, somewhat important, to try to get people to switch early on in their computer career so that they get used to free and open source tools, or at least tools that are supported on Linux, and they are able to stay within the ecosystem. Because you're not, I feel like, really missing out on anything too major by running Linux. I do a lot of professional work on my Linux machine, and I don't really have trouble like editing raw images, editing videos. Yeah, it just works. But of course, if you come over from Windows and you were used to certain video editing application or Macintosh, certain video editing application or raw images editing applications, and well, it's not easy to just transport your workflow.
A lot of artists are jumping ship. They don't want to use Adobe anymore because they realize it's a terrible company. Me as well, I thought, you know what? It's time. I'll swap over. I know the open source alternative is GIMP. I've heard about this forever, and I thought, it'll feel good. I'll feel good leaving Adobe. So
I think it's a bit of a mix of GIMP, Krita, and Inkscape, depending on what you have to do exactly. Where GIMP is more like image manipulation, Krita is more the drawing aspect, and Inkscape is for vector stuff. I don't really know how the Adobe Suite works exactly, obviously, but maybe like Illustrator goes into Inkscape. I don't know. But if you use the three of them, it should work well overall.
I'm ready. I go to their website, I click through the 1,000 pages, I crawl through the bushes just to find the goddamn unsubscribe button, and I was so ready. I was gonna be like, you unsubscribe.
Which, by the way, is a painful process, and I know because I used one Adobe product in my whole life, which was Adobe Podcaster, which allows to use AI to significantly improve voice if you've screwed up a recording, which a couple of times I have. And of course I unsubscribed because $30 a month is a steal. And oh my God, is it a painful process.
You know what happens? They hit me with an unsubscription fee. Yeah.
Yeah.
Those... I'm sorry, what? I have to pay to not use your software? It was like $65 or something. It's insane. What the If anything, it just made me realize, okay, it's over. I'm never going back. So like I said, the open source alternative is GIMP. And since this is Linux, open source, you can do whatever you want. I downloaded this icon pack that changed the icons so they look like the Photoshop icons. That helped a little bit. Then I downloaded a shortcut command list that matches the one on Photoshop. Boom, made it a little easier. I'm still not 100% used to it, but the fact that I can do stuff like this really helps. For me, personally, a worthy sacrifice. I hope this doesn't sound like copium, but genuinely, it feels good that I was able to move on.
This is actually extremely good to hear because it's something that worries me. Like, are open source tool worthy alternatives to commercial ones? And of course, I just cannot speak properly today. And of course, it depends on the exact segment. Like, I feel if you're doing 3D stuff, then Blender is a pretty good application regardless of your operating system. If you're doing video editing, well, it depends what level you're doing it, but Kdenlive Live got you covered for like, I feel like a good 80% of the work, maybe more. I don't know. I think I'll use it even in professional contexts, and I do use it in professional contexts. And Inkscape, personally, I love it. I think it's a great application. But we do have some areas where we are clearly lacking some good options. One example that really matters to me is SVG animations, vectorial animations. I'm not native English speaker, please excuse me. And I actually did work on an SVG animation tool, which was sort of an add-on to Inkscape, and it was nice to have it, but also I just sort of hadn't the time to, finish working on it, sadly. But other aspects like GIMP, well, I never really knew. I was always a bit worried that GIMP wasn't enough to really replace Photoshop, and probably for some people it isn't. But well, if PewDiePie can switch, then that's good news. It's something. It's a base level. I don't know how much he uses Photoshop, but probably professionally a fair bit.
At the end of the day, some tools are only gonna work on Windows and only gonna work on Mac, but what you gain on Linux is so much more. Freedom. Join us. I'm just
as an yeah.
I'm just praying that Adobe is not just gonna show up one day and be like, there's another fee. I'll meet them in a dark alleyway. They'll be like,
you are using a Linux system fee from Adobe. It exists.
it's a little fee. Now that I've convinced you to swap to Linux, you have the wonderful choice of picking a distro. Yay!
By the way, there's Arch.
So many of them. I hear people going like, I don't know which one to pick. What do I do? There's so many. Just pick one. It's a wonderful thing that you can choose. Don't you understand? The world is your flavor. Look at all these spices. I went with...
Honestly, if your first reaction to switching to Linux is panic for not being able to choose a distro, just go with Ubuntu. It's gonna get you up and running, and then you can understand how the system works and switch to something else.
With Mint, because it's the same one that I installed 15 years ago, and I knew that it was beginner friendly, and that it's...
Okay, so that makes sense for installing Mint, because you recall that he used it 15 years ago. That sounds about right for Mint.
That it still holds up. It very much feels like Windows, just better, okay? You don't even need to touch the scary terminal if you don't want to. You don't have to. It's okay. You should though. Now, let's jump into my computer really quick. Oh, look at that. I'm recording with OBS.
I'm also recording with OBS.
Open source is always the best source.
By the way, OBS is so good. Like, it's probably one of the best professional applications that we have on Linux as well. I just love it.
Source. Couldn't get Bandicam. They didn't have a Bandicam. I can't believe I paid for that.
I just said OBS is one of the best applications on Linux in my opinion, so shut up and use OBS.
There's like free versions everywhere. That's so much better. Okay. All right. So this is the terminal. You probably heard about it in Linux. Feels a bit strange at the beginning. Let me just show you how it works. But first, wait. Oh, yes, today's sponsor. 3, 2, 1. Wrong! Jifyon! Wow, look at ASCII art. I love it. Beautiful PewDiePie tub. Right now, you...
I guess that's how you integrate a sponsorship segment into a Linux video. ASCII art. Sure. By the way, I don't have a sponsor. Never in my videos. but I still have to sort of make them. So if you go on any other video, there's like video links in the video description to support the work. And if you do it, then it's nice. But you can also not do it. I'm slowly going bankrupt because of this YouTube channel.
You get a free PewDiePie shaker cup, which is an amazing deal. If you order $50 or more, highly recommend. It's a great deal. This is probably the best deal you're ever gonna get with G Fuel. Please take advantage. I genuinely mean that. You get the booty shaker free and 33% off.
Does it even ship to Italy? I don't wanna know. Doesn't feel like something I would like to drink.
Off all PewDiePie products if you use the code PewDiePie. This is your final chance. Only get this deal for 7 days, so take the chance now. Don't wait, please. Brofist, thank you. Go to gfuel.com/PewDiePie. Enter code PewDiePie, 33% off. Thank you, Gfuel, for sponsoring this video. Okay, so this is my desktop. I called it Apollo, and then I have my laptop, which I called...
So is the system up and running? Uptime 2 hours. Okay, that makes sense. Cinnamon, obviously. Matter, obviously. Ooh, the Z shell. That's an interesting choice. I can understand that.
Called Dionysus, because I wanted to mess around with it. Dionysus is the one I really went hard on the rising. But I just wanted to show some terminal commands really quick, just so you get an idea how it works. I talked about this in my last video, but the first thing that really blew my mind with Linux, I just noticed my computer was booting kind of slowly. So I found this command called systemd-analyze, and it tells you exactly how long it takes.
Oh, I actually did not know about this command. That's nice to know. Wait, what's my systemd-analyze? Whoops. Let me check. 40 seconds. That's very slow. 18 in firmware, 2 in loader, 5 in kernel, and 14 in user space.
It takes for your computer to actually load, and what part takes a certain amount of time. And it used to be like 45 seconds. I was like, dude, this is terrible. So then I found another command called blame, and then you can see
Ah, I love that. Let me check that as well. Well, as I said, I don't consider myself that much of a tech-savvy person. So, yeah, I'm totally learning new Linux commands from PewDiePie. Apparently, the slowest for me is apt daily service. And then network manager wait online. Makes sense. Oh, and there's snapd. Oh. I should have probably removed snapd.
Exactly what part is kind of slowing down your system, which got me into like really optimizing it, and I had so much fun doing that. And it just made me realize, just like on Windows.
Yeah, I still feel like this is the sort of things that people do as soon as they switch to Linux, and then over time they change to I've got work to do. But yeah.
Windows, if my computer is kind of slow, you just kind of deal with it. It's like, oh, okay, well, what can you do? On Linux, it's like...
I mean, on Windows, there's ways, but it's painful. That's really the thing. Sure, you can attempt it, but it's much harder, painful, and works worse. Just don't use it.
It's like, the world is your oyster. You can fix it. Personally, I like that kind of stuff. The second thing that blew my mind with the Linux terminal was just how fast it is at searching. Searching on Windows is so annoying. It takes forever. Sometimes it doesn't even find the file, even though you type the name of it perfectly. And a lot of times they just Bing it. They're like, oh, you want to search for your file? Oh, maybe no. Actually, you want to look it online. That's what you want to do. It's like, no. Linux, you can find any file, whatever you want. This is searching all JPEGs on my computer. That's a bad example, actually.
I'm guessing he used find. Regarding search, it's actually a very complex topic, which each desktop tries to do in a different way. Regarding KDE Plasma, because obviously I don't know what Linux Mint does, but regarding KDE Plasma, we do have a marvelous thing called Baloo, which indexes files by default and out of the box, so that even find has to go through all the files when you give the command, whereas KD Plasma tries to have an index of all the files always stored to provide even faster results. Obviously, this means that your computer is doing some background work as soon as you boot your computer for the first time to index all of your files that you're adding. If you transfer a lot of files, then it's gonna have to index all of them. So, but it's work that's done in the background so that when you actually do have to search, it's already done and ready for you. I don't know how other desktops exactly handle that, but if you're happy with running find on the command line, then I guess that's fine as well. I also use it a lot.
Actually, the other thing that I love about it is that you don't have to just search the file. You can also search text inside the file. So let's say you forgot what...
Yeah, Baloo also indexes the content of the file so that you don't have to do it live when you need the content, but it's pre-indexed for you and it's much faster. So search should be really fast on KD Plasma.
Forgot what the file is called, but you remember roughly some stuff inside it. You can grep it and bada bing, bada boom. What the hell is this? Spotify password text. Balls deep. I did not do that.
Yeah. Another tool that I love, which does search live, is Kfind, still from KD, obviously, which just exposes an interface to do searches on the go on specific like contents of files and specific names of files. It's very handy.
What? Searching files on Linux is super fast. It made me realize just how it should be on a computer again. The most obvious thing with the terminal is that, let's say you install the operating system and you need to also put all the programs that you want to use on it. Usually you have to go on the browser, Google it, look up their page, go...
Oh, it is called package management. Oh, I'm so up for it.
Just go to the download page, dodge all the fake ads and all that crap, and do that and install and run each one, wait for it to install, yada yada. It takes forever. On Linux, you just go sudo apt install, what do we want? We want VLC.
And if you don't want to use the package manager, each distro comes with its own store application, which is just a front end for the package manager. So you can graphically see all the files that you have open. You can go through them. Sorry, I just can't do it. You can, all the applications that are available in your package manager, you can go through them. You can just click install. Super easy. It's like your phone. It's awesome. Windows sucks. Sure, they do have a store, but come on. There's a bit of a difference here in
Firefox, OBS Studio, boom, thank you. And now I can sit and look at the screen and feel like I'm a hacker. Yeah.
Yeah, but this is truly awesome. Like
Yes,
being able to just say sudo apt install something and get away with it. I love it. Also switch to the Flashback, please.
You know what all of this means. Every single letter I'm soaking in with my brain. There's so much you can do with the terminal. It's insanely powerful. I can make a whole video about it, but I don't want to keep this too long-winded. And in reality, I just want to show you my Rise on my laptop, to be honest. That's the whole reason I'm making this video.
Let's watch his Rise. Come on.
I had this old laptop. I mean, it's not that old, but I just never used it because I didn't really like using it.
I was also really going around showing people my Rise when I was his age, his Linux age, so I can understand them.
I mentioned before there's many distros.
Let's watch it together and pretend that we're interested in it.
Of Linux, and I wanted to try one called Arch, partially because of the meme. It's kind of become a meme because it's a little difficult to install Arch, so it's like a...
Actually, it's not. It's tremendously easy nowadays. Like, I'm not the kind of person who would be able to install Arch. I did in the past, but now there's just the Arch installer utility, and it does everything. It's super easy. I don't have to have technical skills anymore. I just run Arch installer.
Like a flex to use it. For some reason, I went on a god run and I had no issue. I always get stuck on the dumbest ever for like 12 hours. I don't know what happened that time. But I also wanted to download Arch because it's a minimalist distro. Whatever you put, or at least 90% of it, is there because you just...
I totally guessed this at the beginning of the video, didn't I?
You decided to put it there, and it's also very highly customizable, which are two elements that I love, so I knew I was gonna love it. All right, let's go into my laptop. I think it makes sense for me to show it without any customization first, because it just be confusing, and I need to talk to people that haven't used Linux. My first favorite thing, which I have on Mint as well, is just shortcuts on my keyboard to open programs. Open terminal, open file manager, open browser, close it, whatever.
By the way, was that
Open
Dolphin?
terminal, open file manager.
Yeah, I feel like that's Dolphin. Certainly, yeah. So you do use Kitty applications, haha.
Open browser, close it, whatever.
Okay, but jokes aside, is it Dolphin?
Open terminal, open file manager.
Yeah. It's just very customized. But I'm pretty sure.
Open browser, close it, whatever, it's all there. It's such a nice workflow and have a more keyboard-centric way of using your computer, especially on a laptop. But even in general, you know, the whole like, okay, let me click on the start menu and just find the thing. If I don't have it keybind, I can open Rofi.
Don't worry, it's gonna outgrow this phase.
And just search for it and open it. I don't want to over-explain things as well, but yeah, this is my terminal on this setup. I'm using Alacrity, and this is NeoFetch, which shows my specs. And usually people have an ASCII art. It sounds like I'm saying ASCII. ASCII, I'll call it ASCII.
No, it's pronounced ASCII, so it's fine that it sounds like Husky.
Of their distro. And if you saw my Mint one earlier, I was like, oh, it wouldn't be cool if I do like my own custom ASCII. And then I thought, oh, wouldn't it be cool if I do my own animated ASCII. So
ASCII.
I figured out how to do that. It took a little bit of tinkering and schminkering, but it's just so nice to look at. I love it. So I'm running Hyperland, which is this...
He did his own custom ASCII animation for NeoFetch. Amazing. It's really intuitive.
It's a beautiful tile manager. It automatically sorts it for me whenever I open something. This is such a nice workflow, and I can close it all as well. You can literally open these until infinite.
Which is mathematically very interesting because you get some actual mathematical pattern and you can like prove mathematical theorems by showcasing these patterns, like infinite sums of fractions, like very interesting stuff. Has no relevance whatsoever, but I had to point it out as a mathematics student.
When you're on a laptop, when you have limited screen space, it's such a great way to work with it. The fact that they're always there means I never have to look for them because I know they're there. And if my workspace is full, I can get...
Yeah, personally, I'm a big fan of the idea of never minimizing windows. I don't think windows should be minimized ever. Which is, I guess, the GNOME approach to things, even though I'm on the KDE side, but sure. I think that's the best way. I don't think you should hide things away from the user. I think the user should move away from them and then be able to return to them, which is the concept of a virtual desktop, obviously.
Look at this. Swap to another one. This is workspace number 2 and workspace number 4.
I do not like that it has a fade transition between virtual desktops. Again, personally, I'm a very big fan of spatial thinking, let's say, that imagines the desktop as something that you move between and then you manually, like physically change the position and size of the windows and you move them around. This is all very like physical and almost as if you were touching it. If you have a fade animation, that kind of disrupts that, but of course to each their own, which is why Linux is customizable.
Recording OBS from here. Let's say I'm working on a project on workspace 1, I can then work on another thing on workspace 2 and go back and forth vice versa instantly. I love this way of using it.
Yeah, usually I have like 3x3 or a 4x4 workspace grid, which feels like having a very big monitor that you move like within.
Using a computer, it's so sick. The first thing I really loved about this Arch Hyperland setup was just how quick and smooth it looks, at least, you know, like boom, oh, open, it's so nice. But then I open my browser and it's like...
he probably also decided to go for Hyperland because he remembered using Hyperland 15 years ago when the developer of Hyperland wasn't yet born.
Oh, you see that? Ew. Again. Oh, that took forever. And it loads so ugly. So my first thought, okay, well, maybe I can upgrade my SSD to make it snappier and quicker. But then I thought, I'm on Linux. I can do whatever I want. So let's run a time here, Firefox. Let's ignore the CSS errors. I tinkered a bit too much. Don't worry about it. What was that? 2 seconds? Not good enough. So I figured out a way, and it's so dumb. I won't explain how I did it. But the fact that I was able to do it, boom, instant. Boom, boom, boom. Boom! I love.
I guess like the slowdown is for opening the very first instance of Firefox. So if you kind of have it in the background, opening a new window within the same like process should be much faster. Is that something? Is that what you did?
I love it. I love it so much. It's these small things that makes you really fall in love with using Linux. Anyway, the first thing I customized was Waybar. Oh, I forgot to say I can move around as well if I want to. Anyway, and move them to a different workspace. So yeah, this is my taskbar. It's like the Windows taskbar, except you decide exactly what's on it and customizing it. I put calendar, turn it on and off, internet, Bluetooth, quick access to all these things, you know. I really enjoy this as well. It's basically just tells me if I'm connected to NordVPN or not, and I can toggle by clicking on it, and it tells me which country I'm connected to. Up here, it shows which workspace I'm using. Since I have these reactor in the background, I thought it'd be cool to like LARP as if each workspace was each reactor. I'm on reactor A.
Okay, that's pretty funny though. I like that.
There's reactor B.
But again, he's gonna outgrow this phase, clearly.
C and D, where it's recording OBS. Then I have my battery bar, which is ASCII. I keep saying ASCII.
Because it's correct. Shut up.
Which is ASCII art. I got the volume. And you know, look, if my volume goes too low, it gets red, it's critical. Just to really...
The Waybar does look nice though. Well, of course, KD Plasma is better because I'm contractually obligated to say so, but we do have a very customizable KD Plasma panel, which I work on. And yeah, you can sort of do anything with it. But also it's not as easy to have cool custom themes, including the applets and having these custom looks. I do envy that a bit.
Really LARP the whole nuclear reactor UI. To me, it's cool. I like it. All right, the second thing I did was making widgets with ew. Ew was a nightmare. I'm not gonna lie. Here we go. Let me also change the wallpaper really quick. What was that? All right, so this is my desktop. Let me...
Wow, what's that? I like it. Ooh, a custom... Oh.
Let me play some music, actually. So first I added this visualizer, because I just saw a lot of people doing it. It's using Kava, but I changed it again with ASCII. So it looks a little more matrix and hackery. Here we have my uptime. Just how long it's been running and how much until my battery is out. I should probably charge my laptop. CPU temp, I should probably change, cool it down.
It's pretty funny just how deep we went into LARPing this reactors thing.
Down a bit. All of this is, it changes, it's not just like visual flair. Well, it is, but CPU load, which changes, RAM usage, storage. This tells me which workspace I'm on. So right now I'm on reactor B. Power consumption, completely useless, but I needed it to look cool. And then we have my two fans for CPU and GPU, and then this little spinny fan thing to show it. Upload and download, latency, and then just another VPN thing. It's kind of pointless. And then basic weather.
I mean, most of it is kind of pointless. It's just visual flair, mostly. Like visualizing music, mostly pointless. How much power... Okay, that has a purpose, but also you could just check the battery applet and that would be it. Mostly pointless. How fast the things are spinning. I don't remember the word. Maybe that's the most useful, but also, I don't know, I feel like I would never look at it. But yeah, that's not the point. The point is he's just discovered Linux. He's a very happy boy and is having his fair share of fun until he grows up.
Sorry.
Yeah, I'm just gonna keep saying that for the rest of the video.
And then finally, to make it sort of all work together, I added a script that basically scans if I'm using a window. So if I open or close, it sort of transitions in and out of Waybar because I don't need it on both. That's just like too much information in my opinion. So this is on my desktop. It's just a nice vibe here. We just chill over here. And then when I'm in workflow, it blackens it all out. And I can just get going on my schwingy thingy. Oh, and in the middle here, my I forgot to say it has power profiles, my laptop, so I thought it'd be cool to change them. It's silenced, balanced, or power mode, but I changed it to Razgon, which means overclock. You see my fans are spinning, and these are faster as well because the fans are spinning more. This is so sick to me because I'm remembering what this laptop used to be running Windows. I never wanted to use it. I hated it. Now it went from a hardware that I never used to my favorite piece of hardware because it not just looks great, it runs great.
Yeah, that's what Linux does. Even like my girlfriend installed Linux on dual boot, so she could choose whether to use Windows or Linux. And whenever she had to log into Windows, she was like, I don't want to do this. It's gonna take so much time. It's so slow. I'm gonna have to wait hours to log in and stuff. It wasn't a fast computer, but Linux just runs so much smoother. Of course, sometimes you just have to use Windows because of compatibility due to stuff.
I love it. It's so sick. I had so much fun customizing this. It was just a blast. Yeah, I hope you guys appreciate it as well. I've been doing so much more. I built this camera as well. Like I mentioned earlier, you can communicate with Linux even without a graphical user interface, GUI. That made me so excited because I'm like, wait, that means I can use other computers at my disposal. For some reason, to me, that's just really cool. And I wanted to try what I could do with it. I want to show this in another video maybe.
But this is another whole point. By switching to Linux, well, if you don't want to go outside your comfort zone, well, hopefully you don't have to. You can never use the terminal. You can just use normal applications as you would normally and switch to very nice graphical application and everything's gonna be fine. But if you just are willing to just slightly step out of it, you're gonna learn so much stuff. If you've never used the terminal, it's actually really easy to learn a few basic commands to just move around and install a few applications. And then you sort of get used to this imperative coding style of doing things. And then you're able to do more complex things. And then you start tinkering. And that actually grows you as a person. So you don't have to. But Windows not really gonna give you that, I feel like.
Because I feel like it's too much yapping. But my point is, I've been having so much fun. Just tinkering, messing around, feeling like a hacker. But I gotta be real as well. Linux is not perfect. There's a lot of issues. A good example is, again, my laptop. When I first installed Arch, none of my F keys worked. Actually, sorry, 3 out of 12 worked out of the box. So I had
Yeah, there's the whole hardware compatibility issue, which is, of course, incredibly pressing. There's very, very few mainstream laptops and computers that ship with Linux out of the box, which means that either you get a Linux computer, Linux device from a Linux company, which of course is going to retail at a higher price compared to similarly spec'd computers and laptops, or you go to a mainstream laptop or desktop and then try to install Linux on it, and it might work, it might not. Some things might work, some things won't. As an example, when I first switched to Linux, I did lose a bunch of stuff, like my fingerprint reader wasn't supported, some touch screen auto rotation stuff wasn't supported, the gyroscope I think. And then when I switched this computer that I'm using right now to Linux, I lost, funnily enough, audio control. audio of this computer is always constantly at 100%, and I cannot change that, which is an extremely weird limitation, and I've sort of worked around it. Every time I open YouTube, you can see here it's at very low volume because I cannot change the volume of the computer itself. But yeah, it would be nicer if we had proper Linux supported machines that work out of the box. And I don't feel like we are going in that direction, sadly. Rather, I feel like we're going to the opposite side of things, where with with more and more computer shipping ARM chips that were like meant for phones or whatever that means nowadays. Well, that architecture, due to how it's made, it's much harder to port Linux on it blanketly, like to all of them. Instead, you have to work on every single device to make sure that it even runs. And that sucks. And I don't know, I'm slightly worried about hardware compatibility going towards. I do have a video about ARM architecture and why we're having issues with it regarding to porting Linux. So, by the way, none of the video that I mentioned in this video are things I have written, because I'm sort of stupid, and there's somebody else that I pay that is smarter to write them.
So I had spent a long time bringing them back to life. For me, it was kind of fun. I was like, oh, got another one working. Like, okay, let's move on to the next one. But I can imagine for a lot of people that just want things to work, maybe this is not for you. And
honestly, it wouldn't be for me. Like, when I saw this computer and I saw that the audio was stuck at 100% constantly, yeah, I did see that there's way to fix that in the wiki, and I did sort of try them, and they didn't work immediately to me. And I was like, you know what, I've got work to do. I can just keep it 100%. It's gonna work. I'm just gonna lower down the volume of everything else, and that's it. I could get this fixed. I could. I'm kind of busy right now, and for the past, 6 months that I've used this machine.
And maybe it should work, I think since Linux is not as popular on desktop as...
But it's not my fault. It's not our fault. Sorry, not mine especially, but it's not our fault. Hardware manufacturers are really complex to work with.
As Windows or Mac, this is just the reality. There's just not enough support for it. On Linux, if something doesn't work, it's kind of up to you to fix it. And yeah, that's just how it is. I was trying to update my drivers for my GPU, and I got a black screen 6 times, and I had to do a hard restore every time. It's, not the most fun thing in the world. There are other things I could rather be doing, which is why I need you to install Linux, so the more people we can get together, the better Linux becomes.
I absolutely agree with this. There's people in the Linux world who say, I don't agree with this. I would prefer Linux to stay niche and don't have the mainstream stuff come to Linux, because if we get a lot of attention, then we also get like people trying to rip us off, and then there's like viruses being ported. But I feel like the more we grow as a community, the more people use Linux, the better Linux is going to become, the more programs it's going to support, the more hardware is going to ship with Linux. So please switch to Linux, please. Do it for me.
And I get it now. Like, that's why people were so excited about me using Linux, because Linux is not a product, it's a platform. And it also already exists everywhere.
It's a community, it's an ecosystem. We do things together. It's nice.
Everywhere. NASA, SpaceX, it runs on Linux. All the supercomputers, your TV, your smart fridge, your phone if it's Android, it's all Linux, baby. I think it's just so cool, the fact that this all happened because one Finnish guy in like the 90s just decided, hey, I can write a better kernel. Finnish naivety.
I feel like this would have happened anyway. This was just bound to happen. Linux had to exist in one way or another. But sure, I don't want to discredit the amazing work of Linus.
Typical Finnish behavior. They think they can do anything. But without that, things would have been very different. At least there wouldn't be an alternative. And I just think it's so cool that people saw what it did, got excited, and wanted to join in. So please consider joining in. Now, if you're even just a little bit curious, I recommend trying Linux. Maybe try dual booting it if you're not sure. You can still...
I really want to emphasize this. You can dual boot. You can give... Actually, even simpler. You don't have to install Linux yet. You can live boot, which is you install Linux on a USB key. You plug it in, you try Linux from the USB key. Most people already know this, but let me explain that. You boot Linux from the USB key. Nothing is on your computer, nothing changed. You can check what works, what doesn't, roughly. When you install, more things are going to work, but at least you get a base idea. And then if you're like, okay, this is fine, I feel comfortable, you can dual boot, which means having both Windows and Linux at the same times. And from Linux, you can see, depends on your configuration, but for most people, from Linux, you can see and modify your Windows files, move them over. It's very simple, very comfortable, not scary at all. You should try it. Okay?
Still keep your Windows or whatever. You're gonna kill it later. You might as well kill it now. Test it out.
Yeah, but if you don't feel comfortable, feel free to keep Windows. I've kept Windows for years. Mostly to play games. Now I don't have to, but yeah.
Test it out, break it, get upset. On Linux, I feel alive at last, at long last. Thank you for watching. Let me just type out my goodbyes. No.
I mean, you can type it. It's not gonna work. You have to add -- no preserve root, but whatever. Okay. Almost an hour. So it's 53 minutes and the video is 22. So the ratio of my comments to his video is like 1.2 to 1. So yeah, I've talked too much. Don't you dare say that I do reaction videos just blankly staring at another YouTube video and then adding nothing to it. Don't you dare saying that.